Divine greetings, ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls that are now men and women, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. Welcome to this live episode. My name is Clay. And tonight is the last of the chakra infusion season that I'm doing for this full moon. At the onset, at the beginning, I did not know that it was going to be a chakra infusion season. It is at the very end, now that I'm at the crown chakra, that I'm seeing the fullness of what has been revealed. That as I go through my life journey, as I go through my life process, I will be practicing in the chakra infusion system, which is looking at the soul through the energy wheels as described by the chakras. And the chakra system is a system by which you identify certain energies in certain aspects of the body and even outside of the body. And that system is geared towards the 9 levels of dimensions. And as there are 9 levels of dimensions, there are 9 levels of dimensionality to the human being's consciousness. And those are the 9 levels that I'll be working with for the rest of my time here on Earth. And those 9 levels, I'll go to them from the Earth star to the Soul star, Earth being the lowest and the Soul star being the highest. So from the lowest, the Earth star, that chakra deals with awareness. And when you lack awareness, you practice greed. So the block for the Earth star is greed, and the allowance is awareness. And in that allowance, you recognize and realize that abundance is what you have in the earth. In truth, abundance is what you have in the earth. Greetings, inner standing. Greetings once again. We meet once again according to the algorithm, according to our soul contracts. That's another way of saying the algorithm, according to our soul contracts. Greetings, John McMurr. Hello to you also. So as I was saying, I'm going through the chakra system from the Earth star up to the Soul star, so that we have an understanding about the conversation that is being had in spirituality. And as I'm doing this for myself, I'm doing this for myself in the presence of anyone who shows up here, and we can do it together. Anyone who has any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm accepting well-to-do questions and well-to-do comments, well-to-do shares. If there's anything you would like to share that you would have me comment on, please go ahead and put it in the chat. So I was going through the Earth Star Chakra. And as I'm in the Earth Star Chakra, as I was saying, has to do with allowance in abundance. And where there is lack of allowance in abundance, there is greed. Then next is the root chakra. The root chakra has to do with fear and love. And when you are in allowance, you allow love energy to pass through this chakra. And when you have a blockage, you turn that love into chaos. You turn that love into chaos, and that chaos is represented as fear. Going up to the sacral chakra, the next chakra, it is the has the signature of guilt and pleasure. When you are in allowance of the love energy, you receive pleasure. And when you have a blockage, you experience guilt. going to the solar plexus, which is the next one. When you are in allowance, you practice your divine will. And when you are not in allowance, you experience shame. So you make shameful acts. Going to the heart chakra, when you're in the heart chakra, the energy experience there is either understanding. When you're in allowance, you understand what is happening. You understand yourself. You understand yourself relative to another person. And then when you are experiencing blockage, you experience grief. Going to the throat chakra, this is the fifth chakra from the root chakra. The throat chakra is the expression chakra. This chakra determines or exudes whether you're telling a lie or the truth. When you're in the flow of the love energy, you experience the truthfulness of life. And when you're in the blockage, when you have blockages in your throat chakra, you speak lies and you exhibit lies, you experience lies, you express lies. The next one is the third eye, one of my favorite chakras. And the third eye has to do with delusions or insights. And when you have an allowance of the love energy, you have an insight as to what is happening and how it is that you are to balance your energies. And when you are in fear energy, you have blockages and you suffer from delusions and illusions. The next chakra is the crown chakra. The crown chakra has to do with attachments. When you are in the allowance of love, you have your divine attachments or your divine allowances that you come here to experience. And when you are out of alignment, when you are experiencing blockages in that chakra, you exhibit egoic attachments. You exhibit traits of a 2-year-old, which is saying mine, 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 mine. It's emotional exacerbation. And then from the crown chakra, the chakra that is outside of the body, still inside is the soul star chakra. And that soul star chakra has to do with divine will and personal will. When you're in allowance, you allow your divine will to flow through and direct your life. And when you have a blockage, then you experience your personal will. And that personal will is your egoic will. And that usually gets you into trouble and keeps you into trouble. It usually gets you into trauma and keeps you into trauma. So we come here to put away our personal will. We come here to exhibit our divine will. So now that I've gone through that chakra system, I have a fire tonight also. It's a smaller fire though, and that fire is a little bit wet because it was drizzling earlier. It was raining earlier, just a little bit, before I started this live. And yesterday at this time, the moon was out, and now you can't see the moon because the clouds are there. And there's a tree right there. Yesterday, I believe about this time, the moon was visible. So it shows the dynamics of the moon. If you look at the moon, you'll see that each day it rises at a different point. If you study the full moon, and that is the nature of the movement that is happening. So now I am going to talk about okay, you know what? Something happened and I did not light. Where I live, there is mosquitoes. And I neglected to light the smoke device that gets away the mosquitoes. So I'm going to have to light that right now. Otherwise, The mosquitoes are going to eat me up, and I won't be able to concentrate because I do not like mosquitoes at all. I do not like mosquitoes. So right now I'm lighting this. They look like incense, but they ward away mosquitoes. So I'm lighting that, and I didn't light it earlier on because I wasn't sure if I would be able to do the live because it was raining. So now I'm sure I'm doing the live, and I'm not wasting it. I'm lighting these things. Okay, so what was I? Oh, see, I even just caught a mosquito that was clinging on to my skin there. I didn't even have to slap it. Okay, so today I had an experience, and it was it took me back to my younger years. It took me back to first to my 25-year-old self, and ultimately took me back to my 5-year-old self. And that experience was a shameful experience because someone came by my house. Right now, there's a mango tree. If you see, there's mangoes on the tree. The thing is also that some of the fruits on the tree are not so well, and they have these black spots that I wouldn't eat. So today, this lady came by, and she asked for some mangoes. And I was telling her that it has, well, first thing is she speaks Spanish only. She can understand English. The thing is, I don't speak Spanish that well. I can understand a little bit of it. So I speak English, and she understands the English, speaks Spanish, and I understand a little of the Spanish. And my partner was there also. Now, as I was there, she in the front yard, she came and she was asking for the mangoes, and I told her that the mangoes have these spots on them, so I'm not so sure if she wants it. Before I could finish the conversation with her, my partner took over, and she started, because my partner's Spanish in some regards is better than mine, and my partner invited her to the backyard, and I went with them, and we picked some mangoes and we gave to her. And I saw that she was picking up some of the mangoes that were on the floor, and I went and I picked some mangoes for her, and I picked about 3 or 4 or thereabouts to give to her, and I wanted to give her more at this point, but she didn't want any more at this point because I gave her a bag, and she had a nice amount, let's say about a dozen mangoes. She didn't want any more than those, and I felt ashamed because I was going to refuse her the mangoes, and I was going to refuse her the mangoes because I thought that the mangoes weren't good enough, right? And here it is nonetheless. And that reminded me of a time in my life where someone asked me for something and I gave them the worst part of the thing, or what I thought to be the worst part of the thing. Let me not say the worst part of the thing. I gave them what I thought to be the worst part of the thing because I didn't want to give them that thing. And when I did that, it made me feel some type of way. I wasn't sure what the type of way it was. But then there was this older man there, and he said, no, don't do that. Don't give them the worst part of the thing. Give them the best part of the thing, right? And so I gave them the best part of the thing. And that stuck with me as a trauma, as it reminded me of a time when I was 5 years old and someone did that to me. I knew the best part of the thing, and that other person, they gave me the worst part of the thing. And this person was my mother. And she made it seem as if everything was okay, but I knew that it was not okay. And I took on that trauma, and I took on the guilt of that trauma. And from that point on, I would guilt people in this way. I would see someone who wants something that I have, and I would, out of my guilt, give them the worst part of the thing, when I know they would prefer to have the best part of the thing. Now, how does this story tie into what happened today? Today, I was so traumatized that I wanted to make sure that this lady understood that the mangoes had these spots on them. And I was so traumatized that I couldn't see that she wanted the mangoes regardless of the blemishes that were on the mangoes, right? Because I didn't want to face that trauma, or I was traumatized in that way. And I trust that anyone in the chat is understanding what I am saying. If it's not clear, let me know that it is not clear. Put it in the chat as to what is not clear, so that I may have a better experience in if it's clear or not. So that expression, as it came through my crown chakra, I recognized that I had an attachment to this illegitimate thing, to this thing that is a trauma, to this thing that is a wound. And so it is that I'm getting rid of that trauma. The trauma of going in too deep and not seeing that I'm in too deep. The trauma of taking something and making it known for what it is not known. The trauma of seeing something with a blemish and not understanding that it is my perception that it is a blemish. Someone else, like this lady, may see that blemish and actually see the blemish as a beauty mark, as she clearly portrayed in her wanting the mangoes and receiving the mangoes. And it is not for me to put my judgment on someone else's preference. It is not for me to put my judgment of a preference onto someone else. And this is the attachment that I'm working out from my crown chakra this season, this moon cycle. And as I okay, so now the beauty of the fire, is that the fire is also a beast. The beauty of the fire is that the fire is also a beast. As beautiful as it is dancing with the varying colors of red, yellow, and orange, all the lower chakras, and there is even blue in there, that's the throat chakra. So there's the higher chakras in there too, the expression. As beautiful as it can be a beast. And sometimes we use beautiful. As I spoke it, it collapsed. And sometimes we use the beast to alchemize the wound into beauty. Sometimes we use the beast of the fire to alchemize the wound into beauty. We turn lead into gold. We turn beauty into the beast. We turn the beast into the beauty. In coming here, we were absolutely infinitely beautiful. And in coming to earth, we became beastly because we took on trauma. And as we took on that trauma, we have the experience here on earth to return to beauty, to forward ourselves to a beautiful state once again. And with that being said, I'm reminded to remind myself that what I'm doing now is a process of transmutation. What I'm doing now is a process of alchemy. What I'm doing now is revealing the crown-throat expression that I have. I'm removing the trauma of attachment to the wound. I'm removing the trauma of attachment to the wound. And I am expressing myself so that I will be acclimated to spending time with myself and spending time in the public eye so that I can be truthful and I can receive the truth, I can attract the truth, I can project the truth, I can allow the truth of love to flow through me. And that is what I am going to be doing every moon cycle. I'm not sure how I will do it. However, I'm sure that I will be doing it. I'm not sure if I will be doing it on a live each month or each episode on YouTube. However, I know that I will be doing it personally. I will be doing it intrapersonally, and I trust that at some point I will be doing it interpersonally. And there's the moon. There is the moon. Let's see, there she is. And tonight it came over to this portion of the let me see. Oops, covered it. Tonight it came over. Let me zoom out a bit. Okay, so there is the moon. I'm putting my finger. There is the moon right there. Tonight it came over right there. But yesterday it was over here. It was right over here, over this part of the tree. So it has changed its direction by quite a bit, because I'm sitting in the same spot that I was yesterday. And I'm looking in the same direction. The fire was here yesterday, same spot. And it came over I'm not sure how it is on your screen. On my screen, it's towards the left of the tree. Yesterday it came over approximately about in the center of the tree. So it is shifting. And that takes me into the other realization that as to why I am doing this series, why it is that how it is I came to recognize and realize that doing your soul work means paying attention to the moon. Doing your soul work means paying attention to the moon. So, and I hear the rain and I'm feeling the rain. I'm gonna go for as long as I can and see what happens. Maybe I'll step back a little bit. Okay, yes. Let me step back. Let me step back a little bit out of the rain, and the fire is gonna be there. Okay, there is a fire. So, as it relates to the moon, why it is I choose to use the moon. Okay, yesterday I was giving an example. And let me turn on the camera so I can talk to myself as I talk to you. Okay, so yesterday I was giving an example of the attachment of the revelation that I came to. That there is this, okay, talk to me, Spirit. Where should I go? Where should I go? Okay. Okay. So if you are interested in the what I was saying yesterday, there is a live from yesterday, and you can check it out. It's labeled third eye. If you go to my page, now from that live, I showed how a trauma is a bond, and the bond can be represented as a circle. The circle being 360 degrees. Now, as the circle, which is 360 degrees, is bonded to itself, it doesn't allow for interaction with the wider world, because the wider world is not a circle. The wider world operates as an ellipse, or operate in an elliptical spiral. So when you're a circle, you're really trapped, you're really bound into your trauma. So to get out of your trauma, you divide that circle by 72. Why 72? Because there are 72 nations within you, and those 72 nations is represented by the 72,000 nadis that are at the solar plexus point. The solar plexus point, coming from the cosmos, is the fifth chakra, and it is in this fifth chakra that you locate the 72,000 nadis. And for the sake of mathematical correction, I'm using 72 because the number 72,000 has been bastardized, and it's really 72 nations that is within a person. So as you have 72 nations within you, you divide your 360-degree trauma to have your to subtract, to have your babies, so to speak. And as you have your babies, these babies are yourself. As you have your babies, which are yourself, you have 5 babies. And those babies take you into the Earth Star chakra. And as they take you into the Earth Star chakra, you experience 0-point gravity. And 0-point gravity means that you are in with the source. And not just in with the source, you are in with the source according to the earth. And because you've been here before, and you, as you are in communication with the earth, you've been here before as the earth has been here before, because everything comes from source, and source is infinite. So everything is infinite. So in your infinite nature, you agreed with the earth that the earth is going to be the earth, and you're going to be a child of the earth. And you put your children self into the earth to have remembering through the earth. So as you divide the 360 by 72 nations, you have 5 babies at each cycle. And when you have those 5 babies, they take you down into the earth, and they take you back up. As they take you back up, those 5 babies that I'm talking about also coincides with the number of change. 5 is the number of change. And if you study, if you check the inclination of the moon as it relates to the elliptical nature of the earth is 5 degrees. So there again, you have the 5 degrees that is outside of you, that the moon is telling you that 5 is the master of change. And as 5 is the master of change, this is how I come to the realization that as I give over my personal will, as I give over my personal will to my divine will is the one who is leading me into even speaking the way that I'm speaking currently, into speaking these truths, because I've never studied these truths inside of a book. All that I'm telling you is what I've received from spirit. So the moon has a 5%, not 4%, 5%. The moon has a 5-degree tilt relative to the Earth's orbit. And that 5-degree tilt is what allows for light energy information to come from source into the Earth's atmosphere. And as you align yourself with that 5-degree tilt, then you too receive light energy information from source into your vessel. And so I've dedicated my entire life now into receiving light energy information from source into my vessel every single moon cycle. And that is how it is that I've come to the conclusion that to live according to the moon cycle, respecting the solar cycle, is the only true way to live. If you find some other way of doing it, I would appreciate someone to um, send me a comment if you find a way wherein you, otherwise from what I'm talking about, where you do not respect the moon as the feminine, and you receive your light energy information, you receive your divinity in some other way. I would love to hear it and for us to have that conversation. And that is where, and if any, let me slow down. Let me slow down. Anyone in the chat who has anything to ask, now is a good time to ask as I take the time to breathe and allow my soul to catch up to my spirit. So, I was saying that giving my direction, allowing the moon to direct me, allowing the moon, which represents the feminine, which represents the receptive nature, allowing the receptive nature within me, because as above, so below, as within, so without. As I mentioned, as stated by my ancestors in Kemet, that is a truth that has stuck with me all this time throughout my several lifetimes. As I've said somewhere, at some point before, I have recollection that this is my sixth, this is my seventh um, observation. As I say, seventh observation. This is my seventh observation of life here on Earth in this soul imprint. And I see inner standing is saying that I observe the moon, which is brilliant. I think personally, this is brilliant. And I'm not sure how it is that you observe or use the moon or use the moon. How it is that you partake of the moon and have the moon partake of you. Okay. Good. Greetings in the chat. Greetings in the chat. As I was saying, this is the only way I know how to receive my divine blessings, my divine course, my divine guidance in the earth, is to observe the moon and have the moon instruct me as to what to do. The moon representing the receptive nature and my divine will that flows through me being the creative nature. The creative nature creates everything, creates my action, creates my identity, creates the locks that you see on my head, creates my skin, my eyebrows, creates everything. That is my creative nature. That is the masculine, as the feminine is the receptive. So, that is what I'm seeing happening. And, that is where I believe I'm going to leave it right now. The rain has stopped. So I'm going to sit back down for about another minute or so as there's not much to see on the fire if I sit. So let me just show the fire, or show the moon rather. Let me show the moon. Right now you can see that it's not a full moon. And I'll sit for another minute. And if anyone in the chat has any well-to-do questions, well-to-do comments, I'll have those comments and we can have a conversation. Otherwise, in the next minute or so, I'm going to close this portal. Inner Standing is saying, cause last night I spent the night sitting where the moon is shining. That is, can you say a little bit more as to what, can you say a little bit more? Inner Standing, you spent the night sitting where the moon is shining. As I'm sitting where the moon is shining right now. There's a glow around the moon. Yes, correct. $100. Is there anything in particular that you can share about your observation of the moon, Inner Standing? Inner Standing says, yes, one thing about it is full joy vibe that I'm getting from. And I think you're saying that it has a good vibe. You get a good vibe from the moon. And I remember when I did not look at the moon as anything substantial. I just looked at it as, I don't know, like it was nothing. I did not see the moon as anything significant. Now I see the moon as the definition of my entire existence. And when I say that, I don't mean single-handedly or outside or in a vacuum. I mean, I see it as the guidepost. It provides the instructions. It's the feminine. It exemplifies the feminine to me. And that feminine is also inside of me. So I remember a time when the moon wasn't anything for me. And for you to say it gives you good vibes, that gives me good vibes. The moon giving you good vibes, that is a good thing. That is a positive thing. And you know, as we talk about good vibes and it being a positive thing, it came to my attention that, and I'm going to turn around the camera. I'm going to turn around the camera. It came to my attention today that, and this is a touchy topic apparently, it came to my attention today that we've entered into what the secular world calls Pride Month. And Pride Month is saying to me that the world really has gotten to the heights of its creativity in misappropriations. The world has really gotten to the heights of creativity in its misappropriation, because Pride Month represents sodomy. Sodomy is you taking, according to Google, according to Google, there's 3 specific definitions of sodomy. Sodomy is when someone practices putting a penis into an anus, when someone performs oral sex, and when someone performs bestiality. That is sodomy. And when you have Pride Month, when you're saying you're prideful in these areas, that has to be the epitome, the extreme of misappropriations. That has got to be the extreme of misappropriations. And this signals to me that we are indeed at the end of the material age. We are indeed at the end of the Iron Age. We are indeed beginning to enter not beginning to enter. Am I correct? No, not beginning to enter. We have entered into the energetic age, where everything is seen through energy. Now, sodomy is something that is a misappropriation. And it's clearly a misappropriation when you look at it. I'm going to look at it through the mathematical lens. As you look at it mathematically, plus and minus. Minus representing the feminine, plus representing the positive. Minus representing the receptive, plus representing the creative. Now, you cannot promote life. You cannot be life-giving when you put a plus and a plus together, or you put a minus and a minus together. That is not promoting life. That is stagnation, right? That is the epitome of stagnation. And when you do that, you're not going anywhere. Not only are you not going anywhere, you have regressed. You are regressing, because now you're suffering inertia. Now you're suffering the chaotic entropy that is eating you from within. As you practice this type of lifestyle, that is what, as you practice that type of lifestyle, As you practice that sodomy lifestyle, you are studying entropy and calling in evil, wickedness, badness, cruelty, all those misappropriations onto yourself. No matter how you see someone who practices these sodomy acts look successful, a person ought to know that that person is suffering in their soul. And we are here to have a soulful experience. We are here as spiritual beings having a human experience. And when you see a human practicing these sodomy acts, their soul is suffering the cause of it. Their soul is dying. And you do suffer soul death. When you suffer soul death, what happens is that you begin a new cycle as it relates to your soul incarnation. You don't disappear and go off into nothingness. That is not a truth. That is an illusion. The soul never dies. However, in the aspect of continuation, in the aspect of, what do you say? Experiential knowledge, we talk about time processing. And when we talk about death, that is what we're talking about. We're talking about time processing. And as time is processed, we experience time lapses because we go through stages, we go through journeys. And as you go through stages and journeys in your consciousness, not in your spirit, because the spirit is universal, the spirit is infinite. You have time processing in the human body, and then you have time processing in the soul. And as time is processed in the soul, then the soul experiences soul death. So there is there's someone in the chat saying that I'm spewing nonsense. That is acceptable. And then there's someone in the chat alluding to some type of sodomy. And you know what? I'm happy that person mentioned this aspect, the trans gender aspect of reality, which is actually an illusion. The transgender aspect of reality is an illusion, because when you leave and when you quote unquote leave source and you come here, you're having an experience in that you've chosen, and you have chosen whether you're going to be male or female. And when you come here and you're not satisfied with the body you've chosen, that is no excuse not to do your soul work. You still need to do your soul work. However, through free will, you are allowed to do the trans procedure or whatever procedure it is that you are doing. I'm here to say to you and to my consciousness that that is a misappropriation. That is a misappropriation. That's all it is. Someone who is confused about their sexuality. They don't know if they want to be a male or a female, or they say they want to be both. That's the difference with some of these terminologies. When you say you want to be both, it sounds foolish because you are actually both. You are a feminine and a masculine. You are receptive and creative. However, you chose which particular vessel you are going to have the experience in. So to say you want to be both is you not knowing yourself. To say you want to be both is you not knowing yourself. You are in a confused state. Not because a cow grows up in a pig pen means to say that it is a pig. Not because a pig grows up in a lion's den means that it is a lion. These things are confusion. No matter what you see with your two eyes, that is confusion. Your third eye will tell you if you heal your third eye. So, what people are calling Pride Month actually represents sodomy. And that sodomy is the epitome of the end of the material age. So, once again, this proves to me that we are indeed in the age of Aquarius, where everything is seen and nothing is hidden. The issue with the Pride Month people, is that they want to be in their pride and for people not to say anything. For people not to say that, hey, we see you being foolish. We see you being misappropriated. We see you being suffering in your guilt. The guilt of you not doing your soul work. The guilt of you not knowing that a penis was not made for an anus. The guilt of you not knowing that your mouth does not belong on a sexual organ. The guilt of you not knowing that you're not supposed to mate with animals. These are the things that are clearly seen, and people have this as a legal proponent of the justice system, that it is placed on the calendar. This is the extent of the European calendar, the Europeanized calendar, because it is the European that has led us into this way of living. And I am not saying this because I am bashing the European. I am thankful to the European. It is through the European that this form of chaos has come through for me to alchemize and know myself. In the words or language of Kemet, the European represents Set. And I, in this case, who is a black person, represents Asar. And not any Asar represents the risen Asar. Set being the bringer of chaos, and Asar, with the help of Aset, through the divinity of Ma'at, restores order. So, what people are calling Pride Month is a real travesty. It's chaos. Chaos in full view for all to see. And for those who do not see it as chaos or some synonym of chaos, you can say chaos, you can say wickedness, you can say evil, you can say demonic, you can say the devil, you can say whatever aspect of malevolence it is. Chaos. I prefer to use the word chaos because chaos is simply chaos. When I use the word chaos, it helps me to remove all the judgment. It has nothing to do with morality. It has to do with divinity and sovereignty. And the world watches what is taking place, and many will fall victim as they have chosen to be a victim. The melody that is mine, and the melody that is yours is yours. I say to myself, I have mine, and I say to yourself, take yours. Ashe and amen. That is where I will leave it for this night as I close this portal. Ashe and amen.